From whole hogs to smoked ribs smothered in sauce to the high-tech toys of today's super grills, barbecue is a culinary custom that's become a national institution, shining a lip-smacking spotlight on the diversity of regional tastes, techniques, and traditions.
I consider barbecuing an American tradition, like jazz.
Even Henry Ford was smart enough to throw a few coals in the fire.
You couldn't afford a car? Buy a bag of charcoal.
So join us for the mouth-watering tale of adventurous explorers, carnivorous cowboys, and personality-packed pitmasters.
Well, you ought to catch now.
All on the never-ending quest for the perfect piece of Q on American Eats Barbecue. Barbecue. It's the magical marriage of meat, smoke, spices, and slow cooking.
Real barbecue is the best eating experience you'll ever have.
Oh gosh. Biting into a good piece of food off the grill is a multi-sensory experience. It hits you at all those levels and it just makes you kind of groan with pleasure.
Does it ever taste yummy?
Barbecue is an event. To bite into good barbecue is to conjure memories of all the great barbecue you had when your father used to do the cooking, all the relatives and the friends would come by.
It's a centuries-old American tradition with as many variations as there are tastes as there are opinions.
The definition of barbecue just changes from place to place. I know what I think barbecue is.
Right, more?
And, somebody who lives in, Massachusetts thinks they know what barbecue is, but they're two very different things. It's hard to say what barbecue is.
It's all based around food, family, fun, and friends, and people have very strong feelings about it.
Amen. Now, let's dig into these spare ribs.
That pleasure comes with the taste, texture, and tenderness that slow cooking provokes. For some people, it's about the sauce, from Cattleman's to KC Masterpiece, rolling off the assembly line and onto their ribs or steaks.
Give me a little more, attaboy. You're a good guy.
For others, it's about whose equipment is the biggest, baddest, and the most powerful. But for just about everyone, the meat is key. The juicy, charbroiled, smoky flavor that only barbecue can offer. The American tradition of barbecuing is generally acknowledged to have begun sometime in the 16th century, when Spanish explorers first encountered Taino and Carib Indians in the Caribbean.
In what is now Haiti, they saw the people who lived there cooking meat over a pit with a specific contraption of wood that would hold the meat in the proper place so it would neither burn nor remain raw.
The wooden grate the meat cooked on was called a barbeque, which meant sacred fire pit. The explorers then brought it back to the colonies, where it took off particularly well in the area that would become North Carolina, generally regarded as the birthplace of American barbecue. The meat they were cooking was pork. The pig also arrived in America with the Europeans.
What happened is Columbus actually had some pigs on his ship that he deposited in Cuba. They came to the North American mainland around 1540.
By 1666, pigs were the most plentiful meat source in the southern colonies, and barbecue was the ideal method for getting the most out of the animal.
It's not only to keep it moist, but because pig is sweet, and the vinegar is a good contrast to it.
When the pig was done, as many as 12 hours later, the pork meat was so tender and succulent it could be pulled off the bone. But pulled pork had other positive attributes aside from its taste.
Eating in colonial America was really a disaster, mainly because many people didn't have any teeth. What did they do? They pulled the pork off the bone, and they cooked it so it was really soft. And some people called it gummed barbecue.
Regardless of how it was eaten, by the 17th century, barbecue in the southern colonies was more than a food. It was a social event.
Well, if you think about a barbecue, there's too much work to do for it not to be an event. You're not going to invite one person over for a barbecue.
It really became a party. that people got rowdy. And we've got evidence about those early colonial days that they had to pass a law about behavior at barbecues.
In 17th century Virginia, they even passed a law prohibiting the discharge of firearms at a barbecue.
You know, bringing a gun to a barbecue was just a bad idea.
Guns or not, barbecues were a big deal in colonial America.
Judging from the number of times barbecue is mentioned in George Washington's diaries, it's got to be clear that the first president of the United States was also a serious barbecue man.
Once George Washington went to a barbecue and he came home after 3 days and he said he felt the need to go to church.
Of course, landed gentry like Washington were not the actual people making the Q. Although early European settlers almost certainly cooked barbecue themselves, by the mid-19th century, the pitmaster was usually an African slave.
The hard work and the staying up all night, mopping the meat and all that was very labor intensive. And of course, the labor of African slaves was available on southern plantations, and so slaves were the early masters of barbecue.
You can't say that there weren't any white people barbecuing, because the truth is, American culture, and Southern culture in particular, makes it difficult to draw a straight line and say this is the black side, or this is the white side. What we do know, though, is that the emblematic barbecue folks in those days were the black barbecue cookers.
The preparation for North Carolina barbecue was simple.
The way hogs were cooked very early on was to dig a long trench, and in the bottom of that trench, which was probably, I don't know, maybe as deep as 3 feet, they would shovel coals that had been burned down from hardwood. And then grates made out of sticks or logs were put over the trench, and the pigs were split open and put on top of these grates.
It took almost 200 years for barbecue to go from a served item at homes and parties to a commercially sold product in eating establishments. Much of that had to do with the emancipation of the slaves in 1863.
And after the Civil War was over and the slaves were emancipated, they brought with them the barbecue skills that they had developed on the plantations, and they used their barbecue skills to support themselves.
All over the South, the freed slaves sold barbecue wherever they could find a place to dig a pit and slice a hog.
They opened up barbecue stands and sold barbecue, either from the back porch of their homes or from carts on the street.
Now, I've passed old barbecue places that are still standing. They're very humble, simple structures. And the idea is that we're putting the focus on the meat, not on the architecture.
These early joints dotted the South at the turn of the 20th century, catering to anyone, black or white, hungry for barbecue.
The idea of barbecue is part of the social fabric. Now, there's always been an integrated aspect of barbecue. You got the tradition of white folks who would go and buy barbecue from the black barbecue cookers. You also got the notion that if a tradition is truly regional, then it's apt to be embraced by folks of different races.
But eating barbecue made by African-American cooks didn't extend to eating at black-owned restaurants.
Because of the Jim Crow laws, blacks couldn't open businesses that whites could come into. So as it happened, the most successful barbecue businesses in the 1920s, 1930s were opened by whites.
But this discrimination didn't stop African-American joints from thriving. Eventually, as laws and attitudes changed, barbecue restaurants owned by African-Americans would gain their own legendary status that still prevail today. American barbecue may have started in the Carolinas, but as the population moved west, so did the Q. And thus began one of the greatest debates in American culinary history. Whose barbecue is the best?
People view barbecue as being part and parcel of who they are.
Once they put it out there, they're willing to defend it to the end.
And barbecue is like the home team.
Although there are probably hundreds of local barbecue variations, when food historians talk about regional styles, they usually break it down into 4 areas: the Carolinas, Memphis, Texas, and Kansas City.
Each of the regional styles that characterize barbecue grew up kind of independent of one another. It was a very organic process. They were not aware necessarily in Memphis of what was happening in Texas, and in Kansas City likewise.
Each region makes it their own. They define which meats they want to cook. They define which sauces they want to use. They define which techniques and woods they want to deal with.
More often than not, those decisions of wood, sauce, and meat were determined by geography.
For example, if you look at the woods that people use to barbecue with, they use the wood that's around. So they may tell you that, man, mesquite is the best, or white oak, or post oak, or pecan, or hickory. What they're really saying is that this is what we have around here.
To really see history's impact on regional barbecue, look no further than the Lone Star State.
Texas barbecue is an invitation to an argument.
You know, and people in Texas, they think everything in Texas is better than everything everywhere else.
Texas barbecue is much better than any barbecue anywhere in the world.
You go to Peoria, Illinois, and it doesn't taste like Texas barbecue.
Texas barbecue is the best, no question about it.
And they will, you know, fiercely defend, Texas-style barbecue.
In the early 1800s, slave-owning Southerners started moving into East Texas and planting cotton. By 1860, 30% of the state's population was African American, and they brought their pork barbecue. But then came the cattle ranchers, who began moving into the open grassland of the central and western parts of the state. By the 1870s, Texas was cow country.
Beef became unbelievably inexpensive in Texas when the cattle industry started up right after the Civil War. Beef was selling for 4 cents a pound in Austin at that time.
25 and about a quarter and a half and about a half and about a half, and thank you. Now 75 and about 75 and 25, thank you. Not quarter.
So suddenly it became, much more economical to barbecue beef instead of pork.
And what a meal.
On Texas ranches, owners kept the choicest steaks for themselves.
Roast beef from an animal raised right here on the Stone Ranch.
Leaving the most inferior cuts of meat to cowboys and ranch workers.
In some areas, ranchers fatten cattle on grain to give the meat extra quality.
One of the least desirable parts of the cow was the chest section, known as brisket. Using the conventional cooking methods of the day, it was too tough and stringy to eat.
So that became barbecue meat.
One of the beauties of smoking and slow cooking it over a period of hours rather than minutes is that any bad cut could be made tasty and succulent. And in Texas, there's no greater example than brisket. You slow cook it for 18 hours and smoke it with the right kind of smoke for flavoring, and that becomes one of the sweetest cuts of all.
The technique became known as cowboy barbecue, even though cowboys didn't barbecue.
People have this notion that cowboys are great barbecuers, and that ain't true, because much of what cowboys were doing were herding animals from one place to another, and you don't have time to barbecue.
Almost sundown. How about chow?
By the turn of the 20th century, if you were a hungry Texan looking for some Q, you might find some at your local meat market, where a vast number of Czech and German immigrants were cooking leftover meat using above-ground brick smokehouses that release smoke through chimneys. This old-world style of barbecuing, which essentially means cooking your meat with smoke, not fire, soon became the Texan way. Today, the chimney of the barbecue pit at Kreutz is a local landmark.
The current Kreutz Market was built a few years ago. The original location of Kreutz Market is now called Smitty's Barbecue. Smitty's and Kreutz are owned by two parts of the same family.
Like many Eastern European butchers, Mr. Kreutz found that smoking meat was a great way to preserve it.
We're talking about the days before refrigeration. They'd take what was about to go and smoke it. And so they just served that smoked meat to the regular clientele.
Next, please.
And they bought it and ate it on the spot on a piece of butcher paper without any sides or without any condiments because they were in a meat market. So there's a real Texas tradition for barbecue eaten on a piece of butcher paper with crackers, but not a plate and not with sides.
Pretty darn good barbecue here in Lockhart.
Today, most barbecue joints have the same relaxed feel to them, and they all have closed pit smokers because that became a necessity.
Between about 1905 and 1912, during what was called the Progressive Era, there were campaigns across America to improve sanitation. So Texas formed its first health department and began inspecting restaurants, I believe, in 1906. So many barbecuers were cooking in open pits. Essentially, it was a hole in the ground, and there's no way you can get a hole in the ground inspected by the health department. So they had to come up with a sanitary barbecue pit. And there was a good model for that already because of the German and Czech meat markets, which already existed in Texas.
The above-ground smokers were adopted across the state as barbecuers learned how to build them. The result is Texas now had their own brand of smoky beef barbecue to defend. And the taste spread all the way to Kansas City, a mecca for many herding cowboys, who not only brought their cattle, but their barbecue too.
A big part of the cowboy tradition is the idea of driving livestock from Texas, where they're born and raised, to the slaughterhouses in Kansas City and in the Midwest.
And so names such as the Sedalia Trail to Missouri, the Chisholm Trail to Ellsworth and Abilene, Kansas, and the Western Trail to Dodge City became household words in the ranch houses of the West.
Once you got all of these stockyards, you also have all this meat. So Kansas City is known for its barbecue, and its barbecue is both beef and pork because in the stockyards you had cows and pigs.
Here in Kansas City, if it moves, we cook it.
Kansas City's barbecue tradition is very eclectic. In Texas, you've got beef. In Memphis, it's all about ribs. In Carolina, it's all about the pork butt. In Kansas City, it's about all of that, including turkey and chicken.
Kansas City is the melting pot of barbecue.
The birth of commercial Kansas City barbecue begins with a man named Henry Perry.
Henry Perry is generally regarded the father of Kansas City barbecue.
Henry Perry was born in the Memphis area, and when he was probably 15, got a job as a cook on a riverboat. Went to Chicago, went to Duluth and other places, perfected his skills as a cook, and eventually ended up in Kansas City. Within a year or two of arriving in Kansas City, he opened a barbecue stand. And we've got no evidence that anyone else was doing barbecue as a business prior to that time. So it's generally acknowledged that Henry Perry was Kansas City's first barbecue businessman, barbecue entrepreneur.
Perry's early menu featured everything from possum to woodchuck to raccoon, wrapped up in newspaper. He barbecued his meat over hickory and oak and served a sauce so peppery it could bring tears to customers' eyes. His barbecue had a following all over Kansas City.
In 1932, he did an interview with one of the black newspapers here in Kansas City. And in it, he talks about the fact that his customers are from all walks of life in Kansas City. He talks about people walking to the restaurant in bare feet. He talks about people coming to his restaurant in limousines.
Beyond being crowned the father of KC barbecue, Henry Perry was also a mentor for future barbecue artisans. Among his prodigies was Arthur Pinker, who gave legendary flavor to a little joint named Old Kentuck. When the Gates family bought the place in 1946, the most valuable thing in it was Pinker's talent.
Arthur Pinker came with the barbecue joint. So we had the barbecue joint and the pit master, as you call him, Mr. Pinker. And Arthur Pinker was 75 years old when we got it in 1946. He stayed with us until 1957, and he was about 85 years old before we retired him.
Today, Old Kentuck, renamed Gates & Sons in 1958, is a Kansas City institution with a following as far away as the White House. The President's Choice Tray, a sampling plate that feeds 8, was named for President Clinton, a faithful Gates customer.
Can't beat Gates.
Gates barbecue is a wonderful Kansas City tradition. Probably the thing that most folks will tell you about Gates is that when they step inside the restaurant, they're immediately assaulted with a, "Hi, may I help you?"
Hi, may I help you?
Hi, may I help you? Let you know we're ready to serve you.
The staff at Gates are extraordinarily well trained to be very friendly, aggressively so.
And if they say, "I'm not ready," take your time, sir. That's a part of our whole conversation.
Southern hospitality is spoken through barbecue, and perhaps more than any other American food, barbecue is a reflection of who makes it and where it's made. But in the Northeast, it's a whole new ballgame. The modern-day grill. It's powerful, high-tech, and sometimes fancy. There are grills with built-in shish kebab skewer holders, stainless steel side burners, and even a 5-piece football barbecue tool set, complete with a gridiron spatula.
The thing is, once you get into backyard cooking, then you really get into backyard cooking and you get more and more different styles of equipment for different things you can do outside.
All of it designed to make your backyard barbecue the best it can be. There's only one problem.
Throwing burgers on the grill, that's not barbecue, that's grilling.
Grilling is to barbecue, boiling is to baking.
Don't get grilling mixed up with barbecuing. They're not the same.
Barbecue is slow and low, grilling is hot and fast. Both are honorable cooking methods, they're just not the same thing.
Rightly or wrongly, for a lot of Americans, barbecue means grilling in the backyard, a shift in perception that began in the first half of the 20th century.
In the 1920s, you started having a lot of automobiles. So it became possible to talk about traveling to somewhere to have a party or a picnic.
Now the whole family could get away from the noise and the heat of the city.
So cooking outdoors began to be more and more popular.
And of course, I think the popularity of the picnic and barbecuing on the go, people liked the flavor and they wanted to have that for their own backyards all the time.
In 1920, getting that backyard barbecue going got a lot easier, thanks to a grilling pioneer from Michigan named Henry Ford. Yes, that Henry Ford.
Well, you know, Henry Ford, being the entrepreneur that he was, he always liked to make sure that he was using every bit of raw material in the process of manufacturing an automobile.
Henry Ford came up with the idea of repurposing his wood scraps with a charcoal-making process patented by Orrin F. Stafford. With help from his fellow charcoal-loving genius Thomas Edison and a distant relative and former Ford dealer, E.G. Kingsford, Henry Ford chipped up his leftover wood bits, burned them into charcoal, ground up the charcoal, then bound up the charcoal bits and formed them into little, perfect pillows of incendiary pleasure. The birth of the charcoal briquette.
Ford sold his briquettes alongside his cars, encouraging customers to buy a 25-cent bag and drive to a cookout.
Now, Ford's charcoal operation was later renamed Kingsford Charcoal in honor of his distant relative and co-genius in the charcoal world, E.G. Kingsford.
Today, Kingsford Charcoal produces 500 million tons of briquettes. The process begins with piles of hog's fuel, an industry term for sawdust received from local sawmills. Once it's separated and ground to size, the wood is burned down to char in a large vertical outdoor cylinder. Of course, to get charcoal, you need coal. The mixture of the two is held together by starch and then pressed into the shape of briquettes. Fresh off the press, these steamy briquettes are wet and pliable, like snow. To harden and give them strength, they're heated at 300 degrees in a 1,000 square foot vat. To make their shipments of nearly 500,000 tons of briquettes each year, Kingsford must use 1 million tons of wood scraps. The charcoal briquette was the first step in a backyard grilling revolution. The second, suburbia.
If you look at the housing before World War II, most of the houses were in the city, and recreation was done on the front porch. The backyard really was a place where you dried clothes on a clothesline, you know. But as the 50s progressed, and you had the ranch-style home that didn't have a front porch, the backyard became a place for recreation, and the grilling craze took off. It was amazing.
One 1950s suburban griller swept up in the craze was George Stevens Sr., a father of 12, who worked for the Weber Brothers Metalworks in Chicago. One day in 1950, he threw a barbecue using an outdoor fireplace he had built.
It was an absolute disaster. He burned the ribs, he burned the roast steaks, everything was burned.
And it was one of those events that really stuck in his head, according to history.
Stephen was determined to find a better way to grill. Luckily, his job offered an inspiration.
Weber Brothers were making buoys for the Chicago Park District for the harbors along the lake. And buoys are generally round, cylindrical things. As it turns out that those buoys were just about the right size for a barbecue. And so Dad took a couple of those spinnings, put some legs on it, started playing around with grills and vents and dampers and all the controls.
Stephen took his new barbecue home to show the wife and neighbors.
And it was like nothing anybody had ever seen. And there wasn't a barbecue out there that looked anything like this, so nobody figured it was a barbecue.
It might have looked funny, but it worked. The dampers acted as adjustable plates, controlling the flow of air and allowing for even cooking, while the lid controlled flare-ups and protected meat from ash. Plus, it was sturdy and portable. In 1952, Stephen formed a barbecue division at Weber Brothers to sell the grill. By the end of the decade, he bought the company, and by the late 1970s, it was the best-selling grill in the country.
The Weber grill is probably the most successful grill in American history, and its design is virtually unchanged, and it's very versatile. You can grill with it. You can actually make good kind of old-school, old-style barbecue with it. You can smoke with it, and I think that its simplicity, its elegance, its serviceability is what's accounted for its popularity over time.
Although grilling with charcoal is popular, it's not the only way to go. Meet the stainless steel 64,000 BTU Tech Infrared Grill. When the grill ignites, the infrared heat flows through the perforated metal burners and through glass plates which diffuse the hot air. So the food isn't cooked by convection, but rather by electromagnetic radiation. That may not sound too appetizing, but the result is juicy charbroiled meat. Put your pedal to the metal with this grill. It runs on a V8 Hemi engine. For those who like to torch their meat with a little torque. One guy fired up his imagination with this grill, made with the engine of a small jet. But whether you grill using infrared, charcoal, propane, or automotive engines, a grill is still a grill, or as some people call it, faux-Q. With the Weber grill in place, the iconic backyard barbecue scene was set. Dad at the grill, and Mom doing everything else.
Dad was assigned the grilling job, right? Men grill, women don't. I don't know why.
Maybe the starter you're using is no good. Well, sure to catch now.
Men were the original pitmasters because of all the heavy and difficult work it required.
It started early as kind of a male occupation and has remained so for the most part ever since.
If your man really fancies himself as an expert chef, let him try his hand at shish kebab.
I recall moms and aunts, let's face it, they would do all the work. They would do the planning of the meal. They would go out and buy all the food. They would get it all prepared. He would walk out triumphantly to the grill, generally with a kiss the cook apron or something like that on. And then the men would gather around the fire and really enjoy themselves.
And while the men were out grilling, the women were inside making the sauces.
The woman's job got a little easier in 1957 when Kraft introduced the first commercial barbecue sauce. Sort of.
Now, Kraft, of course, is a big food company, and they were manufacturing oil. And they packaged the oil with little packets of spices, and they encouraged their customers to mix up their own barbecue sauce with the oil and the spices.
Advertised as Quick Mix Barbecue Sauce with a 19-herb blend, the first packets were free with the purchase of 1 pint of Kraft all-purpose oil. In 1959, Kraft introduced a pre-mixed liquid sauce, sold in a bottle meant to resemble a brick outdoor fireplace.
New Kraft Barbecue Sauce. It's made with 19 herbs and spices.
Today, Kraft Barbecue Sauce comes in 19 flavors, and it's just one of over 400 sauces on the market.
We have mustard-based sauces, we have tomato-based, we have fruit-based. It's at least a $15 billion a year business today, just barbecue sauce.
It's all part of the barbecuization of America. In the Carolinas, they fight over vinegar versus tomato.
The eastern part of the state likes the vinegar-based sauces, and the western part likes the tomato-based.
Down Texas way, they like theirs on fire.
The barbecue sauce makes or breaks the barbecue, and in Texas, man, we got awesome barbecue sauce.
The hot sauces in general would reflect some background of people who'd spent some time in the Caribbean area where the jerk seasonings are popular.
And in America's heartland,
the Midwestern tomato-based sauces, that comes from a blend of European influences. And the pitmasters really wanted to guard their recipes.
Why do I call it bold? Oh, here's the recipe. You take a pinch of, and a couple of cloves of.
left to their own devices, most people found themselves tinkering in the kitchen, trying to come up with their own good version of sauce, using Kraft as the base ingredient.
I'd say 80% of the contest cooks will start with Kraft as their base and then doctor it up.
One man took doctoring to another level. A Kansas City physician, Dr. Rich Davis, created KC Masterpiece in his backyard. It stirred up the industry of barbecue, becoming the first premium bottle to hit the shelves nationwide.
Well, I knew there could be something better than what you ordinarily would buy in a bottle. And eventually, after fiddling around for years, I came up with what I really like. As I tried it out with friends and people around the neighborhood, everybody really seemed to enjoy that. And eventually I woke up and I thought, well, I don't know, maybe there could be some money in this.
Still practicing medicine, Dr. Davis would peddle his barbecue on the weekends at church and make deliveries at night to his local grocers. The neighborhood became addicted.
We had to decide where would we try it next. Is it just a local hometown phenomenon or would it sell? So the first city we went into outside of Kansas City was Denver, Colorado. And I'll be darned, the sauce sold well there also. Well, that made us begin to think about it might be a serious business. And then we went into Oklahoma City and then into St. Louis. We began to spread out from Kansas City then as the business developed.
People started immediately paying attention to the sauce. It wasn't about the meat no more, it was about the sauce.
I think you could say KC Masterpiece sparked a premium sauce craze.
The trend of the premium special barbecue sauces has just gotten totally out of hand.
With the taste of barbecue sauce becoming a surrogate for slow-cooked meat, a window of opportunity opened for fast food barbecue, an oxymoron if ever there was one.
In the 1970s, a group of dedicated food technologists and scientists at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln began searching for a way to reform bits of pork into appetizing shapes. And they approached McDonald's with their porky creation. McDonald's bought the process, and thus was born McRib.
You deserve a break today. McRib cooked up McDonald's way. No bones.
The McRib is a combination of different cuts of pork.
Tender pork on a home-style bun, pickle and a taste of onion.
They're cut into pieces and then they are put into a mold that looks like a rib, and then it's pressed into that mold to form that shape. It creates a uniquely McDonald's handheld barbecue sandwich that has been a big part of our menu for 25 years.
No bones. Tender pork, gotta have bones.
But for folks like me, these places don't sell barbecue. They sell what we down here in Texas call faux Q.
You can't make real barbecue quickly.
Traditional, no. It takes up to 20 hours to smoke a hog, but factories can press out thousands of McRibs in the same amount of time.
There is definitely a following for the McRib. I've actually heard stories of people traveling 50 miles to get a McRib sandwich.
Other fast food outlets have also added barbecue items to their menus. But once again, there's no pleasing purists.
Now this is the BBQ Ranch Hunger Buster. But you know, folks like me, when they get handed faux barbecue like this, we just kind of look at the waiter or the waitress and we say, faux Q.
Controversy aside, no one could deny the taste of barbecue had shed its regional roots and was becoming a staple in the American diet.
Barbecue is enjoying a great resurgence. It is the hot, new, old food, and everybody seems to want to be a part of it.
Well, it was, I'd say, more of a slow love affair. All you had to do was check the sales of barbecue foods in restaurants. and it was just a crescendo gradually coming up until it finally established itself one of America's basic familiar foods.
And what a lunch it'll be. An old-fashioned Western barbecue in the campground under the trees.
By the 1990s, barbecue had conquered the hearts of Americans both in the backyard and on fast food menus. Now it's exploring a new frontier, the urban gourmet circuit.
Some people think that upscale barbecue is an oxymoron.
Fundamentally, fancy and barbecue really don't belong in the same sentence together, because barbecue is not at all fancy. But it certainly can be served up in a fancy environment.
It is a regional American cuisine that's not staying regional anymore.
Geographically, the final frontier for any upscale cuisine is New York City. While it may seem an unlikely place to find a barbecue pit, famed restaurateur Danny Meyer knows firsthand what it takes to bring barbecue to the Big Apple.
There are more native Kansas Cityans in New York than anywhere besides Kansas City. There are more native North Carolinians, Tennesseans, or Texans. And you've got people who grew up with barbecue as part of their tradition, albeit their own accent of barbecue.
He established Blue Smoke in 2002 after tasting award-winning ribs by barbecue champion Mike Mills.
As compared to most barbecue destinations, a very, very vertical city. So already with environmental complications, it's tough because smoke rises. And if it wafts into your neighbor's bedroom while they're trying to take a nap, that's not a good thing, and you get closed down. So we had to build a 15-story smokestack so that it would waft over all of the contiguous buildings on our block.
The recipe and the restaurant name were the easy parts. The challenge of building a real barbecue pit in Manhattan would be the big hurdle.
When we first opened Blue Smoke, New Yorkers did not know what to make of it. We had questions that blew my mind, but they shouldn't have. Why are these ribs pink? They must not be cooked. When in fact the pink smoke ring is truly what distinguishes any kind of barbecue as having been authentically smoked.
One thing's for sure, when you eat good barbecue, you're hooked. And whether it's on fine china in New York City or a paper plate on the side of a southern highway, barbecue is an American eat that brings people together. Barbecue not only soothes the soul, it also ignites passion for meat, for sauce, and for competition. Today, there are over 650 barbecue cook-offs across the country. They're all at least two-day events, being that the secret to good barbecue is slow cooking. The largest barbecue cook-off is Memphis in May. In 2006, there were 90,000 contestants, divided into 253 teams, all vying for over $61,000 in prize money. Memphis in May is the Super Bowl of swine.
It's the biggest celebration of the pig on the planet.
Competition barbecue is a huge sport.
While you're doing your judging today, I know that some of you have a tendency to go,
It doesn't get the visibility of NASCAR.
Don't do that.
But it is the hot new thing to do.
I don't want you also to go, ugh.
And people are so passionate about it.
The majority of Memphis in May teams have corporate sponsors, but there are some that just love barbecue.
Here we go. We're all from Memphis. We sponsor ourselves. We don't have a corporate sponsor. We're about 80 members strong. We all throw in. We have meetings starting in February, and we make it happen. It all comes together.
Their teams have been out here ever since the first Memphis in May, which was over 25 years ago, under one little tent.
The first contest was held in a tent, and it was raining, I believe. It was won by a woman named Bessie Mae Cathy, and she attributed her success to cooking ribs from high on the hog. Barbecue competitions are growing at the rate of about 20% a year. We'll do 200 contests this year.
We go all over the United States. We go to Vancouver. We've been to Kansas City, New Jersey, pretty much all over.
Barbecue is the only food group that has a society, 2 trade organizations, 9 contest cooking circuits, 3 newsletters, and a magazine. So people really have a great passion about barbecue.
I'm 45 years old now, and I've been with this team 26 years. And so I grew up with this team. Now we all have families. We're all in our 40s, and the next generation is starting to help. It's a wonderful thing to watch here.
You come out here and you see people you have not seen all year. So it's sort of like a big family reunion. Everybody thinks their region's barbecue is better.
Pork Authority.
That's what we think in Georgia we have the best.
Everybody has their own sauce, their grandfather's dry rub, their secrets.
We took a hog, injected it with 12 gallons, secret recipe. I can't tell you what it is. Put our dry rub on it, and I put it in the grill, and she's gone to sleep, and we'll look at her at about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Barbecuing has become an American tradition, where people celebrate who they are and where they came from. Like good times, you don't want to rush barbecue. The key ingredient is savoring the time spent beside the meat as much as the meat itself. From the days of George Washington to the age of fast food, the secret to American barbecue is that it means nothing if it's not about memories in the making.
Finding a good barbecue for me also is an appreciation for the fact that this art form, which is the antithesis of the direction that we're moving in many ways. It takes a long time to do. It requires a certain amount of expertise and patience and discipline.
Well, thanks, and so long.
It's the salty, greasy, crispy, it's all of those great meat flavors in one piece of meat.
We've all learned it from people who mean something to us. I think when we meet other people in life that challenge or question that approach, we have to protect those people that taught us.
Now, maybe it reminds us of some sort of deep primal kind of memory of what great meat eating is about.
Inviting a good barbecue, that somebody's keeping that flame alive.
Goodbye.